All right, you guys, here I am. Average Guy Opinions, John Corelli again. Um, this is part two of the being friends with a mixed race skinhead growing up. Um, so here we go. I ended up, like I said, so I gave you the first 5 years of the relationship, which was grades 4 through 9. I knew this kid for five, actually, I guess 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6 full years. I knew this kid. A good 3 years, like the junior high years, seventh, eighth, and ninth, I was really good friends with this kid. Um, Sorry, I've got my phone on its side now, and this is stupid, but who cares? Let's try it. I don't like editing a lot, obviously, and I kind of like the feel of raw entertainment. It's kind of why I do live comedy because fucking up's part of life. All right, so this kid drops off the planet after ninth grade. We expect to see him at Jefferson High School um, on the first day of 10th grade. Everyone's asking, where's this kid? Where it's summertime. I was like, I haven't seen him. I didn't see him all summer. I He's not here. I don't know what the deal is. That goes on for like 3 years. Then near the end of senior year, this kid shows up in the Wendy's parking lot off of West Colfax, and old people from Denver, my age, remember that West Colfax used to be a big cruising spot, and so he shows up. I don't recognize him. He is literally 100 pounds heavier. He has grown from this little skinny guy as a freshman to this pretty much man, definitely a man about to go into the world. He's huge. He looks like Schwarzenegger. Um, and I'm like, holy shit, what's been going on with you? And he tells me, man, I had to go live with my dad. My mom kind of gave up on me. Like, where are you? He's like, oh, I live on the other side of town. I go, where are you going to high school? George Washington. Now, for those of you who don't know, GW is a mostly black school here in Denver, and this kid was mixed race. And I got to tell you, it sounds like mixed race was about as popular with black people as it was with white people back then. And he said he just got the shit kicked out of him all the time. And so he figured I have to do something. He had to have a prison mentality about this, and he worked out like a crazy person. I mean, I don't think he did steroids, but he sure looked like he did. He was huge, and he said, "Yeah, I have to be able to defend myself." And I finally got big enough that I kicked one of the badasses asses at GW, and nobody fucks with me anymore. It's like, okay, wow, yeah, I guess I get it. And so we go and raise a little hell. Nothing big. We just went on to Applewood Golf Course and fucked around that night, and it was just nice to see him. And then I hardly saw him for another few years. All of a sudden, I get this call out of the blue. I'm like 22 years old at this point. So it's like a good 4 years later, 5 years later, because I was 17 when I graduated high school, because I'm so smart. And so I get a call, and he's like, "You got a car?" And I'm like, "I haven't heard from you in years. What's going on with you?" And he's like, and I didn't have a car. I was going to school. I was living on my own and working, so I couldn't afford a car. And so this kid goes, "Well, I'm looking to get out of. Just got released from Lakewood jail. Um, I need a ride." And so I called my other best friend Troy, and we picked him up. And he just told tales. The kid we picked up, the mixed race skinhead. For one thing, he was kind of bragging. He was getting to that scary point where he was starting to really get into being a skinhead. When I had seen him a few years previously, he wasn't there yet. He had definitely said the N word. He was definitely hateful, but he wasn't quite to this level yet. Here's the level he was at now. He had a tattoo on his arm that said "Skinhead" with this weird looking gray and black flag. It almost looked like a Scottish flag, but gray and black, that type of cross. Um, and he was still brilliant, though. He was still super smart. He recited the entire poem "The Raven" by Edgar Allan Poe to us. That was nuts. In the car, he's doing the little movements. I can't even say one line of "The Raven." This guy memorizes it in prison or in jail. And so we drop him off. A week later, I see him. We hang out at Cheeseman Park for a while. He tells me he does a backflip because he's in such great shape. He's still ripped, still huge, still kicking ass. and then talking about how you know, you should see me with a knife. And I was like, I don't want to see you with a knife. He's like, the only way a guy's going to kill me is if he has a gun. If I have a knife, that's the only way. I was like, I totally believe you. And so I'm not stupid. I stay away from trouble. I knew this guy was going to be trouble. Um, as the years went on, we're starting to get into the early 90s now, right? 22, 23, 24 years old. And this is back before Coors Field was even there, guys. Basically, lower downtown was garbage. There were a few cool bars like Rock Island and a few other dance places. There were the old gay bars like Tracks and Stars. But it was a completely different animal. You had to slalom through homeless people. Well, I guess you do now, but it was different back then. There weren't nearly as many high rises or lofts. People didn't live down there, so this guy's legend. This guy's he was known by everybody. You brought up his name, and it's like, oh yeah, I've gotten yeah, holy shit, I know that guy. I watched him kick a guy's ass just a couple weeks ago at so and so bar. It was like he was the guy that everyone knew or at least had a story about because we were a much smaller town back then, and I hung out with like. Not a ton of goth people, but that was a community that kind of knew each other, and they also kind of unfortunately, a lot of white supremacists and Aryan Brotherhood types kind of are into that music, unfortunately. So you got your hardcore people that are not racist at all. You got goth people that aren't racist at all. But then you've got a lot of racists. I mean, I've seen them do ugly thing at Nights of Reb concerts and even Depeche Mode concerts. It's weird. So he was in that element now, okay? And so the last thing I remember, and that's why I got to bring it up now, um, because I only got 3 minutes, and it's kind of a long story. Is I remember it vividly. It was probably, well, I don't remember exactly the year. It's probably 91. So I was like 24 probably. And we met at a place called Zenobia's on 13th and Penn, I think. And we met there because it was just a bar back then, and they're showing the Broncos game, and they're playing the Giants, and we're watching. And he brings a couple friends, and one of his friends is this huge guy who also had legendary status back then because he liked to kick ass too, and he called himself Sick Boy, and he actually had a tattoo on the back of his neck that said Sick Boy back before anyone was really getting tattoos that much. They had a couple girls there. They used to call them skin bitches. I don't know what they call them now. And so it's me with these four racists watching football. Luckily, they didn't talk too much racist bullshit, which was good. And the night pretty much goes on without incident until the end. So I'm like, hey, I got to go. I lived within walking distance. I was over at 16th and Logan back then, so I was like 4 blocks from home. He's like, you want to get in the car with us and go for a ride? I'm like, no, I do not. I'm going home. And so right as we're walking out the door, um, he turns to me and he goes, how long's it been since you've been laid, man? I go, I don't know, like 5 months. And he takes me by the lapel and just smacks me across the face as hard as he can. And the whole bar turns like, it was like a record, a needle over the record moment. Screech! And the whole bar looks like we're going to throw down. And I'm like 165 pounds back then. He's like 35 pounds more, all muscle, battle tested, angry. And I'm like, God, I'm going to die right now. And he just grabs me and goes, you're a good looking guy. You should be getting laid all the fucking time. You should be getting pussy all the time. I'm like, all right, I think there was a better way to send that message, but thanks for smacking me across the face before you did. And to top off the evening, we go out. We go outside on the sidewalk. He's like, anybody got a cigarette? I go, no, I don't smoke. His friend's out. Down the street comes this poor, poor, poor Mexican guy. And I mean Mexican like he is a brand new either citizen to this country or a legal immigrant, doesn't matter which, but he's got a cowboy hat and cowboy boots, thin as a rail, 6 feet, 120 pounds, dripping wet. He is an immigrant. Barely speak English, and he comes, and as soon as he sees this guy, he knows this is trouble. My friend goes right up to him and goes, I want a cigarette. And the guy's like, oh, no, no, no. As soon as he sees him, he's like, I just don't want any piece of you. My friend, upon seeing his apprehension, just takes his hand, just grabs him right in the balls, puts his other hand up in his shirt and his chest, lifts him over his head, and just drops him on the sidewalk. Grabs a cigarette because they were in this guy's shirt pocket. Cigarettes all over. He just casually takes one, and his friend lights him up. This guy, this poor Mexican guy, starts calling him cabrón. I'm like, dude, and I couldn't summon hardly any Spanish, but I'm like, lo siento, lo siento. I go, cállate, because this guy's crazy. I think you just don't. And my buddy, or not buddy anymore, but the guy's like, what do you say? I go, oh, nothing. He's just upset that you threw him on the sidewalk. Like, um, parted ways. Never picked up the phone for him again. Never saw him again. Heard he was dead. Don't know. Anyway, thank you for listening to all that. That's almost 21 minutes about one of the craziest people I've ever known and got to know very well. Thanks for listening to Average Guy Opinions. Sorry I wasn't looking at the camera very well this time because I put the phone sideways, but hey, you got to make it artsy sometimes. So thank you so much. This has been episode 13, and I'll get back at you with something on episode 14. Thank you for listening. I appreciate the 5 of you that do. So thank you. Have a great night. See you next time.